Welcome to my channel, The Human Frontier. The arena of Karzal had been carved from the bones of a dead world. Its walls rose in jagged tiers of black stone, etched with glowing sigils that pulsed like a heartbeat. Above, twin suns burned through a crimson sky, casting long shadows across the sand below. The air trembled with the roar of thousands of voices, warriors, nobles, commanders, all gathered to witness what they believed would be a spectacle of blood. At the center of the arena stood a human. His name was Darius Vale. His hands were bound in energy restraints. His armor, standard-issue Terran expedition gear, was scorched and dented from capture. A thin line of dried blood marked his brow, but he stood upright, steady, breathing evenly. Across from him, the gates of the pit began to rise. From within the shadows, something massive shifted. The alien warrior watching from the high dais leaned forward. Commander Threx of the Valori Dominion had seen countless executions. He had orchestrated planetary conquests. He had broken civilizations with calculated precision. But this was different. The creature emerging from the gate was not a mere beast. It was a vorthak. The Valori had discovered the species deep beneath the crust of a shattered moon decades earlier. Towering, armored in natural plates of obsidian chitin, eyes glowing with bioluminescent fury, the vorthak were nearly unstoppable. They had been conditioned through pain and neural control implants to obey Valori command signals. They were weapons. And today, this one would devour a human rebel who had dared sabotage Valori supply lines. The crowd chanted in harsh, rhythmic tones. Darius lifted his gaze toward the towering creature as it stepped fully into the light. It stood nearly 12 feet tall, for limbs ending in serrated claws. A maw lined with crystalline fangs capable of crushing steel. It roared. The sound rattled the arena walls. Threx felt a flicker of satisfaction. Let the humans see what defiance costs. The restraints around Darius's wrists deactivated with a hiss. He flexed his fingers slowly. Unarmed, unarmored, alone. The vorthak lowered its head, muscles coiling as it prepared to charge. Release control protocols, Threx ordered calmly. A technician beside him activated the neural command frequency. The signal pulsed outward. The vorthak lunged. The crowd screamed in anticipation. Darius did not run. He did not reach for a non-existent weapon. He simply stood there and spoke. Easy. The word was soft, barely audible over the chaos. The vorthak skidded to a halt inches from him. Sand sprayed outward in a violent arc. The arena fell silent. Threx frowned. Increase command intensity, he snapped. The technician adjusted the controls. The neural frequency surged. The vorthak's body trembled, its glowing eyes flickering. Then it turned its head, away from Darius, and looked up toward the dais, directly at Threx. Confusion rippled through the Valori ranks. Darius raised his hand slowly, palm outward. It's okay, he said quietly. The vorthak's massive frame relaxed. Then, impossibly, it lowered itself onto its front limbs. A gesture of submission. The arena erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned silence. Commander Threx rose to his feet. That is impossible, he hissed. The technician's hands shook. The neural override is at maximum strength, Commander. It should be attacking. Darius stepped forward carefully and placed his hand against the creature's armored head. Gasps echoed across the stone tiers. The vorthak emitted a low, rumbling sound. Not aggressive. Content. Threx felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest.
Fear.
Seize the human, he ordered. Guards rushed toward the arena floor. But the moment they crossed the boundary line, the vorthak surged to its full height, roaring with protective fury. The guards froze. Darius didn't move his hand. "Stand down," he murmured. The Vorthak obeyed instantly. Threx stared in disbelief. "How?" he whispered. The answer lay years in the past. Before his capture. Before the sabotage missions. Before the Valori ever realized what he had been doing in their territory. Darius had been part of a Terran deep space research unit exploring abandoned Valori mining sites. In one such site, buried beneath layers of fractured stone, they had discovered a nest of Vorthak eggs. The Valori had considered them bioweapons. Humans had seen something else. Life. The research unit had planned to study the species ethically, observe, understand, perhaps even coexist. But the Valori had discovered them first. The facility was destroyed. Darius barely escaped. Barely. He had carried one egg with him as the structure collapsed, a desperate act of instinct rather than strategy. The egg had hatched in transit. The creature inside had been smaller than a human infant. Blind. Terrified. He had fed it nutrient gels. Protected it. Spoken to it. It had imprinted on him. But before the Terran fleet could evacuate, Valori interceptors ambushed them. The young Vorthak had been taken. Conditioned. Weaponized. And Darius had been hunted ever since. Back in the arena, realization dawned across Threx's sharp features. "You," the commander said slowly. "You are the original handler." Darius met his gaze. "I'm not its handler," he replied. "I'm its family." The Vorthak leaned closer to him, nudging his shoulder gently with its armored head. The crowd murmured in disbelief. "Terminate the neural implant." Threx shouted suddenly. The technician hesitated. "But Commander, without control." "Do it." A surge of energy rippled across the arena. The Vorthak convulsed briefly as the implant burned out. Then it steadied. Its glowing eyes softened as it focused on Darius. Free. The realization struck every Valori present. Their greatest weapon had just chosen loyalty outside their command. Threx descended from the dais, stepping onto the arena floor himself. He was taller than Darius, his silver armor gleaming beneath the suns. "You expect us to tolerate this?" Threx demanded. "I expect you to understand it," Darius replied calmly. "You stole Dominion property. I rescued a living being." The Vorthak shifted slightly, positioning itself between Darius and the approaching guards. Threx's jaw tightened. "Our empire maintains order through strength." "And what happens," Darius countered, "when strength decides it doesn't belong to you?" The question echoed in the charged air. For years, the Valori had relied on fear, on domination. Now, before thousands of witnesses, their ultimate symbol of power knelt at the side of a human. Threx studied the creature. It was magnificent, terrifying, and undeniably loyal. But not to him. "You risk war," Threx said. Darius held his gaze. "You already declared it when you turned a species into slaves." A murmur of unease spread through the Valori spectators. Some looked at the Vorthak differently now. Not as a tool, but as a being. Threx felt control slipping, not just over the creature, but over the narrative itself. He drew his energy blade. The arena gasped. "If the beast will not obey," he declared coldly, "it will be destroyed." The Vorthak roared, stepping forward. Darius raised a hand again. "No." The creature stopped. Threx charged. Darius moved faster than the commander anticipated, years of combat training surging into motion. He sidestepped the blade, grabbing Threx's wrist and redirecting the strike into the sand. The Vorthak roared in fury. "Stay," Darius commanded sharply. It obeyed, but barely. Threx recovered quickly, striking again. Darius blocked, but the second blow grazed his arm, slicing through fabric and skin. Blood darkened his sleeve. The crowd leaned forward. Then something shifted. The Vortex glow intensified, not with rage, but with focus. It stepped forward, not attacking, but placing itself directly between Darius and Threx. Threx raised his blade again. The Vortex did not flinch. Instead, it lowered its head slightly, just enough that its eyes met Threx's, and held. The silence was suffocating. In that moment, something ancient passed between Predator and Commander. Not fear, not hatred, judgment. Threx slowly lowered his blade. The arena erupted, not with bloodlust, but with confused murmurs. Darius placed his hand against the creature's armored flank once more. "It doesn't want to fight," he said quietly. "It never did." Threx stared at the human. "You would take it from us? I would show you there's another way." The words hung heavy. For the first time, Commander Threx looked not like a conqueror, but like a leader at a crossroads. The Valori Empire thrived on control, but control had just failed them in front of thousands. "If we release it," Threx said slowly, "our enemies will see weakness." Darius shook his head. "They'll see evolution." The Vortex exhaled deeply, the sound resonating through the arena like distant thunder. Threx looked around at his people, at their uncertainty, at their shifting perceptions. Finally, he deactivated his blade fully. "Remove the arena restraints," he ordered. Shock rippled through the tiers. "Commander," a guard whispered.
"Now."
The energy barriers flickered off. The arena gates opened. Darius glanced at the Vortex. "You're free," he said softly. The creature hesitated, then turned toward the open gate. But before exiting, it looked back at him. Darius smiled faintly. "Go." The Vortex stepped into the sunlight beyond the arena walls. Not as a weapon, not as a monster, but as something reborn. Threx approached Darius slowly. "You have altered the Dominion today," he said. "Good," Darius replied. The commander studied him one last time. "Perhaps," Threx admitted quietly, "strength is not only obedience." Darius flexed his wounded arm. "Sometimes it's trust." Above them, the twin suns burned bright. The arena that had been built to showcase domination had just witnessed something stronger. An alien warrior had stared in shock, and the monster had obeyed him, not because of chains, but because of love. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.